Welcome to A.U.M. Ask Us Marketing. I'm your host, Callie Fedosinko of Callie Collective, a digital marketing agency designed to build relationships between financial advisors and their target audience through data driven content, websites, and advertising. Our episode today is brought to you by the FPA, Financial Planning Association, otherwise known, well, I already said this, otherwise known as the FPA. FPA is a great resource center providing education, support, and networking opportunities for financial advisors like you. And if you're not already watching on the FPA site, then I suggest you go sign up to become a member. In our episode today, we're talking with Nate Hoskin, Kitsch's Marketing Summit speaker, about how he's grown his business with short form videos. Make sure to ask your questions in the comments as we go, and we'll answer them as they come in. So, welcome, Nate. How are you doing on
Hi,
this Monday
Callie.
morning?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So, Nate, I want to start by defining a short form video. How short are we talking?
Yes. So very common. Short form video, I would define as less than a minute. Sometimes you can stretch, some of my videos will stretch up to a minute and
Mhm.
30 seconds, but really if you can get into that 60-second window, that's the sweet spot. Because depending on which platform you're posting it on, you can be limited to 60 seconds. That lets you post it
Mm.
everywhere.
Yes, I happen to know from experience YouTube. And even if you go
Yes.
1 millisecond over, you cannot upload to
Cut off.
YouTube Shorts.
Yep. I know.
Uh,
It's so annoying. And then you're in there trying to trim it back and get it figured out. And you're like, really? For like 1 nanosecond, you couldn't just cut me some slack?
exactly. It's very frustrating on the editing side. Nate, you're receiving 3 inbound discovery meetings per week. Do you attribute this to your videos?
Yes, entirely. When I throw that number around, that is entirely the traffic that I get from short form video. I will occasionally have others that are referrals, conversations with Nuclear Network, that sort of thing. That is always
Yeah.
on top of that three. And the three is really where I feel comfortable. That's my expectation. But I mean, tomorrow I have 5 back to back. It really
Mm,
changes.
that's amazing. 5 in one day.
I know
I mean, that kind of
it's going
sounds
to be an
exhausting.
adventure. I'm emotionally preparing already.
Nate, how long have you been doing videos?
I started January 1st of 2021. I was sitting in my bedroom. TikTok was a thing. I was like, well, I'll make one video. I'll see how it goes. If I can get to 1,000 followers by June of 2021, I
Mhm.
will consider it to be a resounding success. And by
Mm.
February, I think I had 50,000. So I knocked that one out of the park.
Were you focusing solely on videos at this point, or were you also juggling with other, I don't know, business ventures?
I was simultaneously starting my business. I started Hoskin Capital in late 2020. And so I was
Mhm.
really just starting to ramp that up. And that was really the intention of the short form video. I
Yeah.
never wanted to be a content creator. I never wanted to be a public personality. I always just
Mm.
wanted to get clients. That was always my
Mhm.
goal. And so this was a response to COVID saying, well, I don't really know what else to do. I can't really do networking events. I don't really
Mhm.
want to cold call. This seems like an option. And more than just focusing on videos, I was focusing 100% on TikTok, which was
Mm.
by far my biggest mistake. Because if I had been focusing, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I have such bad regrets about it because if I'd been focusing on every platform agnostically, I could
Mm.
have grown everywhere and I could be commanding a
Mm.
much larger audience. I'd only just started posting my videos, the same videos, to Instagram at the start of this year and
Yeah.
went from 1,000 followers to 12,000 in about 2 months. And I was like,
Mm.
why have I not been doing this for the last 2 years?
Yeah, but do you think that could be because you already had an audience on TikTok and they followed you to Instagram, or is it new people?
I have found that there is zero overlap. Of
Mm.
course, I'm sure statistically there is, but
Sure.
what I have found is that someone picks their platform. People
Yeah.
like to scroll on Facebook Reels rather than Instagram Reels. People tend to be
Mhm.
on TikTok when they aren't necessarily on YouTube Shorts. And so I
Yeah.
can confidently say that there is maybe a 1 to 2% overlap in my audience. And those are the
Mm,
people who know me personally. I've found them to be
right.
totally different interactions, totally different age demographics.
Yeah. Also, thank you for sharing that. You're like, hey, I feel like this was a mistake. I feel like sometimes that can be hard as someone coming on as a guest, and I really appreciate that. And I know our audience does too.
I tell
So
it so
let's,
they can avoid it. That is my
yeah,
hope.
right. Let's talk about your videos. Are you posting? I mean, you've already answered this somewhat, but are you posting them on social media to get leads, or are you using them in an email sequence to nurture those leads?
So that's what I love about short form video above any other type of content is how versatile it is. So the short answer is I use it for everything. I
Mm.
actually advertise that I provide my clients with early access to my content. And so
Hmm.
they'll actually get it in their client portal 2 days before it shows up online. And
Mm.
I will post it on social media because it's a huge lead flow. It's a huge source of business for
Mhm.
me. But I also use short form video to communicate with my clients. If I have an update, it could even be a software update. Maybe the UI of our custodian changed. I want to
Right.
walk them through how to add money to their accounts. Rather than answering individual emails or taking individual meetings to coach someone through that, I just make a 1 minute video teaching them about the change and send it out as an email.
Mm. Mm-hmm. All right, you just mentioned that you send it to your clients first, and I'm already like, oh my gosh, all the things I'd have to check off. So let's talk about your video process. Like, yeah, I've got so many questions. First, how many videos are you creating a week? And then, like, if you're releasing it to the clients first, where are you keeping them so that you are sending it to them and then posting after? Like, give us the scoop.
Yeah. So I am currently doing between 5 and 7 videos a week.
Good night.
I'm gonna bring that number down. Yeah, I'm gonna bring that number down a little bit because I'm a
Yeah,
little burnt out from the beginning of this year. I will probably reducing to 3 a week, which is still a huge amount of content,
still a lot.
especially if
Yeah.
you share it across 5 platforms and share it with your clients. Like we are
Mm-hmm.
talking easily 30, 40 pieces of content per week.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm bringing it down a little bit. But luckily, I've been able to get it down. Even with 5 to 7 videos, I'm probably looking at about 2 hours a week. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
a little bit less than that. And so the way that it works is I have a Notion document, which we can share with anyone in the audience. I make that widely available. That's my organization hub. That's where I write all my scripts. I track all their
Mm.
progress, everything of that sort. So I will sit down and I will write the scripts and then I will sit down and record and I will record all in one sitting. I will just rip through as
Mm.
many as I possibly can
Batching.
so that I don't have to do that every single time. I'm actually scaling
Right.
that up and I will be batching the rest of this year in early
Mm.
June. Like I'm just going to get it off my list.
Yeah.
But then the second big decision that I made was I actually hired video editors. So I have this
Mm.
awesome team that I work with, and they
Mm-hmm.
edit all of my videos, they post all of my videos, because at the end of the day, I'm not a professional video editor as much as I would
Right.
like to be. And
Right.
so having them partner with me and be able to take that second half of the production process off of my plate is really what
Mm.
has made this time effective for me. And
Yeah.
what that lets me do is I film on my camera and I
Mm-hmm.
move it to my computer. So I have a normal MP4 file. That is the raw file.
Mm-hmm.
I use Descript as my editing software. And so I can export directly from Descript and have that raw file, which helps for millions of different reasons. I can
Okay.
upload it to my clients before it shows up on social media. I can also archive it for compliance purposes. I have that raw video file on top of where it's posted everywhere. And then I can post that to every platform without getting
Yeah.
those weird watermarks that you get. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen that, where if you download something from Instagram and post it on TikTok, it has the little floating Instagram
Mm.
icon on it. By having a local file, it allows me to upload everywhere agnostically, which makes it
Mhm.
extremely, extremely helpful. And then I just store everything in Dropbox. That's where I keep it all.
Okay, you used a couple words that I want to dive into. What is Notion and what is Descript?
Absolutely. So Notion is just a note-taking app. It's free. You
Okay.
can use pretty much all of their functionalities free online. Notion spelled with an N as in Nate.
Mm.
And that that is where I do pretty much all my note taking, my business planning, everything. I absolutely love it and would highly recommend it to everyone. But
Mm-hmm.
even if someone doesn't want a whole new piece of software, just getting that template and just using that is super helpful. And then
Right.
Descript is a full service editing software. Think Adobe Premiere,
Okay. Okay.
After Effects, those sorts of things. And so it's $12 a month. The reason I recommend it to everyone is because it does automatic transcripting, meaning it will transcript your
Mm-hmm.
video and it will print out all of the words that it thinks that you said. So that makes it
Mm-hmm.
really easy to do captions within the
Right.
video, but it also lets you go in and highlight the bad takes as words and just delete them. And it will
Hmm.
delete out that video clip.
Well, that's
So
interesting.
Descript,
Okay.
super cost effective. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. We use Premiere, but I that feature you just said sounds very interesting. I can just highlight the transcripts to remove the clip. Um,
Yeah.
do you have to send your videos to compliance before they go out? Or excuse me, what I mean you do, but do you have to send your script to compliance before you record? I know that some advisors have to do that, but not all of them.
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to be my own head of compliance. So I'm able to work it directly into my workflows. I'm the one who's in charge of that. But I've worked with a number of clients who have either outsourced compliance departments or established compliance departments. And the way that we've always done that is we have sent that script before
Mm-hmm.
we film it to get the approval. Because you can pretty much always spot something that would be compliance
Right.
questionable within the script. You're like, you probably shouldn't say that. So that means that we can just write the script and submit it. We don't have to go through the filming process and then have to retake if we screw it up. But of course,
Mm-hmm.
we will then also submit to compliance when the video is complete, just in case there is something on a computer screen behind them that we don't like. Like there are all sorts of things
Mm-hmm.
we just want to watch for. For me, within Notion, I track all of that. And so I track the date that the script is approved. I track the compliance officer, which in most cases is me, that actually approves and reviews that script.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I attach the final link so that if
Mm.
I ever needed to deliver something to a regulator, I could
Mhm.
just download my Notion document as an Excel sheet. They would have the record of when it was approved, who approved it, what's the script, what's the caption, what are the hashtags, what are the
Right.
disclosures, and what's the video itself, and where was it posted to, all just in
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah. That's great. At what point did you always start out with having someone else edit your videos, or did you start editing them and then you're like, okay, this is now taking too much time, I'm going to outsource?
I only outsourced starting in maybe November of last year. So that's a
Okay.
very new thing for me. I was doing all of my video editing on my
Right.
own. That's how I became so familiar with Descript, was because I wanted to
Mhm.
do it in
Mhm.
house. And that allowed me to create a lot of content. I mean, I went crazy at the beginning. I was producing between 9 and 10 videos a day for
Right.
6 months. Like that, it was very much like my only focus because I didn't have work
Yeah.
to do. I didn't have
Right.
clients to
Right.
serve. I didn't have employees to oversee. I could just make content.
Yeah.
And so now that I have run into the situation where my business is growing, I have more people on my team, I have other things that I need to oversee, videos can just take a smaller portion of my life. And
Mhm.
that's where outsourcing became extremely, extremely valuable because then I could ramp, I could be at 5, 6, 7 videos a week while
Mm.
putting in less than half the time. And
Yeah.
so financially at the beginning didn't make sense. It was totally possible for me to edit it myself. I was just trading time. And then it became financially feasible for it to happen. And I
Right.
did.
Got it. Um, oh my goodness, I had a question and it just slipped through my head. All right, we've already covered compliance, who's posting, who's editing. Oh, I remember what it was. As you're writing a script, so videos are you're trying to stick to that 60 seconds. How many words would you say equals 60 seconds for someone who's just starting out and writing a script? That could be daunting. Like I have no idea how many words I have to put in.
Yeah. I would say an easy 60-second one is about 6 or 7 simple sentences, which was a
Okay.
lot of S's. So, simple sentence being doesn't have a comma, not a run on, in
Yeah.
general, in my Notion document at least, it just takes up one line. And that's a
Yeah.
very important tip I want everyone to get, is that I break my scripts into lines.
Mm.
So I will have 6 or 7 lines for a 60 second, and I will have 8 to 9 lines for a minute and a half. And
Mm.
what I will do when I'm filming is I will set up my camera and I'll just have my computer right here. I will memorize that one line, turn towards the camera, and take that line. And if I
Mm.
liked that take, great.
Mhm.
If not, I can just rep it a couple of times before I go back and memorize the next one. And what that lets me do is film out everything at once. And then I
Mhm.
just go into Descript and remove the bad takes. It's so
Mhm.
simple. Instead of getting into second 45, you
Yeah.
screw something up, you flub a little bit, and you're like, oh, here we go. Time to
Yeah.
do it from the top.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it in bite-sized pieces and then just chopping it together at the end.
That is a great tip. As someone who has recorded videos, yeah, I suck at memorization.
Me
In
too.
fact, I use a teleprompter now because I just learned I couldn't memorize. But the one line at a time would definitely make it easier. And what's nice is when you're posting those shorter videos, it's common for people to see them cut. And so for our audience, when I say cut, I mean like you go from one frame to another frame. So there's a break in between your movement.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it's a lot easier now to record short because you can edit those and have them cut and zoom in or whatever it might be. So that's a nice
Yes.
tip for people. Have you always been comfortable on camera? Because I know that's something that a lot of advisors struggle with. They're like, I just don't like being in front of a camera. They feel stiff or they just don't know how to act.
I was so camera shy.
Yeah.
And I really compounded on it for myself because
Mhm.
I was also in a small enough apartment that I didn't have a separate room to film in. I didn't have an office to
Mm.
go to. So I was just
Mhm.
at my desk in my living room. And so there
Yeah.
was often someone else in the house. Like there was my dog walking around, you name it, all sorts of issues. And so what I would do is I would actually whisper at the
Yeah.
beginning, and I would quite literally lower my vocal register so bad that I would end up getting a lot of vocal fry because I'd be talking
Mm.
very quietly. And so my first couple of videos, I got torn apart on
Yeah.
social media because everyone was like, dude, speak up. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to whisper. Like no one's gonna jump out at you, all right? Like, are you in hiding? Blink if you need help, please. It was it was really, really hard, and it took a lot to really start to feel comfortable on camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
And luckily, I made the promise to myself that I was going to do 10 before I
Mm.
ever fixed my editing, before I ever fixed
Mhm.
anything about myself. I was just going to do 10 videos.
Mhm.
And by that 10th video, I was 100 times more confident. And I don't
Mm.
know, have you heard the story of the pottery class and the clay pots at all?
No.
So, long story short, this pottery teacher walks in and splits the class in half and tells one half of the class, make the perfect pot.
Mhm.
And he tells the other half of the class, make 100 pots. Which half of the class do you think made the better pot at the end of the
Oh,
day?
100.
Right?
Repetition.
It's just the repetition. And
Yeah.
so I think I read that right before starting my content journey. And I
Mm.
had that stuck in my head that I wasn't going to make the perfect pot. I was just going
Mhm.
to make 100.
Yeah. That's a so great. So great. Actually, this is something my husband and I were talking about yesterday.
Nice.
He's working on a new project and I was like, just get in your head, you're gonna have to revise it. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
perfect.
Never. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still not. I'm constantly making changes to my videos. And yeah, my co-founder says this so well. He's like, if you're doing a good enough job, you should
Mhm.
look back at every single video you produce and go, that is terrible. Like, oh my God, I can't believe my lighting looked like that. I can't believe my microphone was so bad. Like, what was that
Mhm.
framing? Who let me online? Because it means
Mhm.
you are improving so quickly that you can see how much you have improved by how bad it was previously.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true. And I have heard a lot of people say, just get started, just get started. And it
Just
can
move.
be daunting because just like you said, people tore into you in the beginning. And I think that holds people back. Like, I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere.
It turns out that people throwing punches online doesn't hurt that bad. They can't they can't get through the screen. Like
Right.
nothing can happen that will ever have a tangible impact on your life. And
Yeah.
I've never once received criticism from someone
Mm.
who was doing better than I am. And if I
Mm.
have, boy would I take that seriously. Like that one
Yeah.
I would stick in my head. But
Right.
yeah, they turned into weather or water. They just kind of flow past.
Yeah. Um, okay, so why would you say that videos are important for other advisors to be doing? Like, the people who are they've got these fears. I don't want to have to go through that. I'm nervous on camera, whatever it might be. Why is video important for even them to look
Yeah.
into?
I mean, as advisors, we are in the business of trust. We say
Mhm.
that all the time, that what we do is we generate trust and we uphold and steward that trust for our clients. That's at the core of what we do. But trust is a really hard thing to scale.
Mm,
As a human, you can only really build trust with a certain number of people. And when we think
yeah.
about how humans instinctually build trust, there are a couple of components. One is distance,
Mm,
because normally you only let people in your close circle within
mhm.
a reasonable personal space, right? If you
Yeah.
think about the people that you hug or the people you sit across the table from or something of that sort, they tend to be far more trusted than the people you keep at a distance. Well,
Mm,
video allows you to bypass that by
mhm,
being in the palm of their hand. So there is this weird instinctual bias that if I am this close to someone and they
mhm,
are providing me with value, I am more likely to trust them. And
mm.
so we can build trust instinctually, and then we can build trust at scale. Because what
Yeah.
I run into is that I will talk with someone, one of these meetings that I will have
Mhm.
tomorrow, I'm sure someone will say it because I will ask the question, have you gotten the chance to look at my website? Do you know
Mm.
what my services are? Do you know what I offer? And
Mhm.
they will say no.
Mm. Yeah.
They will
I'd say
say,
most of the people who call me, they
yeah,
haven't
they're like, I
been.
have no idea. And so that trust, that willingness to be like, I don't really know how much he costs. I
Mhm.
haven't looked at the example financial plan that he has on his website. I don't really know what I'd receive as a deliverable, but I
Yeah.
trust him enough that I'm going to get on a video call with him and hear him out.
Mhm.
That is something that I have never been able to earn in
Mm.
any way other than in person. The
Mm.
only other time that has happened is if I can have a conversation at arm's length with someone
Mhm.
and have them call me on my phone or something like that a couple of days later.
Mm.
But instead of doing that with one person at a networking event, if I'm lucky, I'm
Yeah.
not, yeah, I'm not an introvert, but I'd be lucky to get like one of those relationships out of a
Sure.
networking
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
I'm reaching more than 1 million people a month.
Yeah. Which was something else. I'm gonna pull up our QR code again. What I want everyone to see is how many views this video had. 1.4 million, and that's just one video. So you're obviously getting a lot of traction on TikTok. All right, you mentioned 3 prospect calls a week.
A week.
I was
Yeah.
gonna try and do the math, but this is not my forte. This is everybody else who's watching's forte, the math part of it. But I'm just curious how many million people have to see your video before you get a call out of it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I know that
Yeah.
if once I get to this number, I will get this many calls or whatever it might be. Do you know those numbers? Sorry to
It
put you on the spot.
I've never really measured it in views because the video we're looking at right now,
Yeah.
that one actually, I'm not even convinced that video converted anyone.
Mm,
And
mhm.
it got more than 1 million views on TikTok, and then it got more than 6 million views on Instagram.
Dang.
And I don't think it converted anyone. And if they
Right, yeah.
did, no one has mentioned that video as the reason that they
Mm,
converted
mhm.
because views and followers don't really translate into clients for me. I have some
Absolutely.
videos that I will post that are really in depth. Like we are
Yeah,
talking about a niche component of the home office deduction for self-employed people and
yeah.
how that changes if you're going to be taxed as an S corp versus like it's just so deep. whereas
Yeah.
that video is very entertaining and very surface level. And I'll get
Mhm.
1,000 views, but I will get 4 new clients, probably
Mm.
10
Out
to
of the deep
12
one.
meetings. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
that one actually converted rather than being
Mhm.
super entertaining and available to a wide audience. And so
Right.
when I talk to clients about actually making videos that convert, I
Mhm.
don't encourage them to make videos like the one that we just showed because they don't convert as well. They get
Right,
great eyes
right.
on target. They get you followers. I'm sure that
Mhm.
they have supported my conversions because they've gotten
Yeah.
more people to see me twice or 3 times.
And the
But in
credibility, like,
general,
hey, this
yes,
person is, they don't have 0 views. So it kind of
right,
builds a little bit of a trust there.
definitely. And that is absolutely the case. But I would say my highest converting videos are
Mhm.
rarely my most viewed videos.
So what would you encourage other advisors, I don't know if topics. What is a benchmark that they should look for? Like, oh, I feel I had 100 views on this video. I feel good about it. Or is it literally just conversions? Like, is there a
Hmm.
benchmark that you would recommend to an advisor to look for to know that they're on track?
Yeah, there are two components to that question that I want to touch on. One is sort of the
Mhm.
topics because I think that's really interesting.
Mhm.
And the only advice I would have to other advisors is that you have light bulb moments all the time with your
Yeah.
clients. You have that moment in a meeting where you tell them a fact or you share a piece of information with them. You just see their eyes go wide. They're like, I had
Mm.
no idea anyone could even do that. Well,
Mhm.
that is a video. Those have been my most successful videos are the ones that I've transplanted out of client meetings and into video format. And
Mhm.
so the video ideas you will find so quickly just arrive. I will never run out of video ideas. I
Yeah.
will only run out of the time to film them. And so I have
Yes.
to pick my favorites. Yeah. And then the second component is benchmarks or KPIs. Really, how do we measure the
Mhm.
success of this from a business
Mhm.
perspective?
Right.
And for me, when it comes to views, the only thing I would measure is watch time. So
Mm.
looking at how long are people watching your videos? And
Mhm.
YouTube and TikTok, I would say, have the best actual analytics to show you
Yes.
how long someone is watching.
I would
And
agree with that.
so that's step one is just get people to watch more of your video.
Right.
And even if 100 people watch 10 seconds of your video versus 3, that is a huge improvement. And when we
Mhm.
talk about actual business results, I
Mhm.
see that short form video really happens in 2 stages. First,
Mm.
it catalyzes your nuclear audience. Think
Mm.
the people that you knew in college or the
Yeah.
people that you've known for years, but you don't really talk to them often. But they
Mhm.
happen to see you on social media and want to learn more about what you're doing. Those are
Yeah.
the immediate conversions that we see for advisors. And we've seen multiple advisors actually get 1 to 2 conversions in the first few weeks of posting
Mm.
content because it's just
Mhm.
someone they knew tertiarily. And
Mhm.
then you have to get out of view jail. And view jail
I love
is
that.
being it's just being less than 200 views on every
Right.
single video because that generally means that there's something wrong with the content, there's something wrong with the video editing, there's something that just isn't grabby enough to get anyone to want to
Mhm.
watch it. And so my first job for any advisor that I coach is to get them out of that 200 view limit. Even
Mm.
if that means getting a couple of videos to spike up to 1,000 or 1,100, that sort of
Right.
thing. Because once you break out of view jail, that means that you are now getting attention. People are actually
Mhm.
interested in what you have to say. You know you're on the right track because once
Mhm.
you can break out of view jail, then you will continue to compound those views, those engagements, and those conversions. The only
Right.
thing that I've found to answer your initial question
Okay.
of how many X views do I need to get X clients,
Mhm.
really at this point, I know that I will get a client per video that I post. It has
Mm.
nothing to do with how those videos engage. It has nothing to do with whether
Mhm.
or not I had a successful one 2 weeks ago or that one
Mhm.
blew up. That is just how the average has run, is that
Yeah.
for every one that I post, I will get a meeting and I will hopefully get a client. And
Mm.
so that is That's really where I would put it, because what
Mhm.
is missing there, and I'm sure some advisors in their heads are going, wait, 5 to 7 videos a week, 3 client meetings a week. That's something's not mathing here. Something
Right,
doesn't
right.
make sense. But the thing that they are missing is that there is this compounding effect where those
Mm,
3 video or those 3 meetings are pretty much never a result of the videos that I just posted. They are
yes.
from videos that I posted months ago, weeks
Yep.
ago. In 2021, I just had a client come
Mhm.
in from one of my first videos that I posted. And
Yes.
so that is the cumulative effect that I'm talking
Yeah.
about, where each video will convert one client at some point.
That is something that we've seen over and over again is videos have an extremely long shelf life in comparison to other pieces of content. Even a
Yes.
blog. I mean, you're just not going to get the same shelf life out of it. Although
Right.
blogs are great for SEO. Not that videos
Yeah,
aren't, but
it's true.
blogs are great.
Yeah, blogs and news features. And that's something that I've
Mm.
noticed with short form video that has
Mhm.
been incredible for my business, has been that I got a number of followers and a lot of engagement on social media. And then
Mhm.
I started receiving emails from Investopedia and the New York Times and Forbes
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, what are you
Mhm.
doing? Like what's going on here? Can we do an interview? Can we figure this out?" And
Right.
so now when you Google me or you Google my firm,
Yeah.
you'll generally find a couple of my pages, but then
Mhm.
you will find all the places that I've appeared in the news. And they
Mhm.
have great SEO. I would so
Mhm.
much rather piggyback off of theirs than build my own from scratch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are people who will pay just to get some sort of mention in news just for the SEO. It's
Yes.
it's like its
Yeah.
own thing. Yeah,
And
this was
if anyone's
yeah.
paying for that, Harrow, help a reporter out, is free. You get an email every day with like
Yeah.
14 different things that you can answer. If you answered one a day or a couple a week, you'll get a mention. Please don't pay for that.
Well, I think it's more people who are hiring someone to do SEO, and then the SEO person's like, "Oh, I can get you in the news for the SEO,"
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
this was so great. This was very, very informative, and I really appreciate the time that you took to meet with me and for our audience. Any last words of wisdom regarding video?
Start, like, just make one, just try it out. Even if you never
Mm,
post it, you will learn something new. And if anything, like, the last thing I would leave with people is that advisors are really good at what they do because they can synthesize large quantities of
mm,
information into something that makes sense to someone who
yeah.
knows nothing about it. And there is no better practice arena for doing that than short form video. I
Mm,
am better as an advisor and I am smarter as a human because I have had to do hours of research to learn
mhm.
and be accurate. And I've had to condense that and put it into the crucible of
Yeah.
short form video and social media, where everyone is an armchair expert. And I have had to be right in a minute or less. That
Yes.
is a skill that has translated into every part of my business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, 60 seconds is not a long time to
No,
get a thought across,
it's so true.
especially a complex thought about financial topics. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, again, thank you for joining us, Nate. And I'm going to put up, I had it here, your handle, just in case anyone wants to follow Nate. You can find him at Net Worth Nate. And that's on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook,
YouTube, Facebook, you
YouTube.
name it.
Got it. Anywhere that you get your socials, just type in Net Worth Nate. That is really hard to say, but
I know.
it's
I wrote it the first time and then I have to say it to people now and I get flubbed every single time.
yeah. But it reads great. I love the alliteration. Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Okay, for our audience, let's see what we got here. Of course, if you would like to learn more about content done for you, specifically pushing the videos out, now we are not editing 5 to 7 videos a week as Nate's third party partners do, but we will help you get those videos out. Scan this QR code if you would like to learn more. And then join us next Monday to talk about how you can teach your clients' children about building wealth with Nia Grant, who attained $1 million in scholarships and grants for college. And she's going to tell us how you can help your clients do the same, thereby solidifying your relationship with your clients' children. Because as we know, you need a relationship with them if you want your business to continue after your clients retire. All right. I hope that you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday.